Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Allison, for Where I'm From 179 with Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Here we are on Zoom.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
You have such a nice background. I always think that on co-writing. It looks so profesh.
Oh, thank you. Because earlier I was moving some things around and I was asking my husband, should I move this clutter? And he said, well, that makes it look like an actual human lives here. And so I thought,
Yes,
okay,
and
okay,
not like a photograph. Sometimes I do get tricked by people's photograph backgrounds, and then I
hmm,
realize when they move, like, oh, it's not their
right.
office, and I'll think, wow, it's like a really clean, nice office.
Well, I
With like the
can't,
color coordinated
I
books, that
know,
whole
I
deal.
know.
Yeah,
Yes, I know.
that's not
Yeah.
me. So Kelly and I know each other from co-writing. And Brian Turner was here last week. So it's fun because you guys are back to back.
Okay,
And um,
cool.
it's fun to see you both outside of just, hi, I'm Kelly. I live in Texas. And today I'll be
Right, right.
working on.
It's very constrained.
It's good because that's why we get work done, you
Hmm.
know, because
Yeah.
otherwise I would just chat the whole time.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's like nice to see you. So, is there anything that you would like to say or anything before you read your poem?
No,
All right, go for it.
I'm trusting the process. Okay. I am from telephone books, from Keds and Rotel. I am from the one-story brick on 5 acres, 2.2 miles down FM 1011, too shady for grass between the gate and the barn, where leaves swallowed a paperback. I am from velvety magnolia blooms and elephant ears. I'm from road trips to Montana and follow through. From Naomi and Virginia, or Jenny, a J or a G is fine. I'm from handwritten thank you notes and Sunday night check-ins, from fake it till you feel it and success breeds success. I am from St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, where all are welcome, except the woman who gave a sermon about assault rifles not being part of Jesus's plan. I am from East Texas, 5 generations on one side, iced tea and sunflower seeds. From my sister's Christmas morning pony and Martin Luther King Day tumble. They said it'd been too fresh for the x-ray to pick up. Skull fracture, go figure. My dad cleaning the gutters as the hurricane rolled in. My mom losing her car in the airport garage. Was that the first sign? Photo albums with sticky pages captioned in Sharpie by an 8-year-old. A green metal box high in my closet. We had a good time, its contents confirm. We were a we.
Yay! I was smiled at her getting lost in the airport parking lot, but then was that the first sign? I was like, oh, that's not, you know,
No.
yeah. So did she develop dementia or?
Yeah, but they say these things. Who knows if it was the first sign or if it was just a fluke,
Right,
right? Who
right.
knows? Yeah.
But you go back and reverse,
Hmm. Yeah,
I,
sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I loved it. And my husband is a multi-generational Texan. So whenever anyone shares Texas poems, it always makes me think of him. And magnolias, that's a very Texas thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it is. That line used to be longer because when we lived in the house with this giant magnolia tree, I would sometimes sell the blooms in our
mm,
lawn by the stop sign because we lived. But then I thought, well, people might get the wrong idea if I don't know. So I left that out of the.
yeah, and telephone books that took me
Yeah.
back too, because
Hmm.
those are really now I feel historical relics. Like they don't really serve a purpose.
Okay, they except for being a historical relic, and for that they are excellent. So I put that because I just remember them, the yellow pages, the white pages, scrolling through the telephone book to look for yourself or your friends, but then sitting on them too at
Hmm.
my grandmother's house.
Yep.
And I have a friend who is a home builder in Houston, and he was, I mean, this, I know it's very sad, but he was going to tear down an old home that and build a new home in that place. And so he said, hey, there's a bunch of stuff. Do you want to come see? Just because he knows I like it. I did. I got a 1965 telephone book from Houston. And then I took that to a place where I had a work contract. And it was like the best icebreaker, conversation starter
Mm-hmm.
thing
Hmm.
to talk about of people like, oh, I remember, when Neiman's was downtown. And like one of the entries was Neiman's fur department. That's weird. But apparently it was real.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's also funny to think of people buying furs in Texas, but
Yeah.
they were because they were
Mhm.
a sign of affluence. It wasn't about keeping warm and the,
Sure.
polar temperatures.
Right. I know. I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't looked at one. I would assume libraries might have them. I don't know.
I might.
Like a
Yeah.
central kind of library. Not like your local branch, but yeah, I think it so I mean, I wasn't alive in 65 and neither were you, but I would imagine that if it was from one that we interacted with, that it would really jog memories, I would think.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that would be fun to get one
Yeah,
from the
like the
days when I
80s or
used one.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and looking and my maiden name was Yester, which is a very unusual last name. And so I never found one. That was one of the first things that I would
Oh.
always do is to
hmm
see if there were any other ones because there was
hmm
no internet and you couldn't just
hmm
Google the name.
hmm Right.
And I would do that whenever I would go somewhere too, like to see if there were any in this place.
hmm
Um, there never were.
Never.
Um,
What's the origin of that last name?
I think it was altered. Well, it's German, but I
Okay.
think it might have been altered along the way to make it
Sure.
more, I mean, I guess American, but I don't, because yesterday, I'm guessing that was the like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we're familiar with this.
Mhm.
But there are some, I think, in Pennsylvania where that part of the family originally
Okay.
immigrated to, but I
Okay.
never went there, so I was not able to look at the phone books.
hmm
Um, But I wouldn't be surprised if you were similar. Did you like read serial box? Like, did you read everything?
Yes, of
Mhm.
course. And then my
Yeah.
dad would leave us like really thin books that, like he didn't call them this, but they were always little books with a big message. It was sort of like breakfast, like assigned breakfast reading that we were supposed to read.
Well, that's clever. If you have children because I would just read, the back of the soup, the cereal, the
hmm
white
Yeah.
pages. And I
hmm
was more interested in that in a lot of ways than the newspaper because the newspaper was
Yeah.
there. But I don't know. It didn't feel like it was for me, I guess, you know.
Yeah. And also I just like I don't it was just a thing you could study and really just go deep
Yeah.
while you're eating those Cheerios or whatever.
Yeah. And look for people you knew
hmm
and why do some people have their address and some don't? And why are some people not in here at all?
Right. And then also sometimes, I mean, it's by the phone. And then there was a time when people sat by the phone to have their conversations. So then like my mom was a big doodler, so
Mhm.
they would sort of get annotated.
Mhm. I love all of that. We have Cody's grandmother's recipe box. That was one of the things
Oh,
that yeah. And it
yeah.
just feels like it's, her. She's in there.
Have you all ever tried to cook from the recipes?
She was not a very good cook. Um, I don't think
Yeah.
that's unfair to say. I think that's something she would have said and did say to me.
hmm
So there's a lot of Jello,
Okay. Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
hmm
We have not tried to make chicken and dumplings because that was one of the things she made, and
hmm
I don't think she used the recipe. Like the reality is that
That's why I was going to ask. Yeah, because I think
yeah.
there's a lot of like one time I typed out these recipes from my grandmother, but there's a lot of extra words that aren't if you were just looking at
Yes.
the exact recipe. There's a lot of narrative that needs to accompany it
Yes,
for it
and
to
she just was
really.
I think most people and I'm this way, which is why I enjoy cooking. You do a lot of it just by experience and
Mhm.
feel and when you make
Yeah,
something as much as she made chicken and dumplings, like it's just within her. She wasn't following a
yeah,
recipe.
right.
And yeah, so we haven't. I think also it just I personally I find bad chicken and dumplings bad.
Yes, yes, right. I know.
It's
Yeah,
like, oh, I don't want that at all. Um,
right.
so no, we haven't really. It's just there.
Yeah.
She was very concerned with what everyone would take when she died. And she talked
Mhm.
about it for a very long
Okay.
time, because she died at
Mhm.
92, 93.
Okay.
And I knew her for uh, like almost 10 years before she died,
Okay.
and probably that whole time.
Just getting you ready. No
Like, are you
surprises.
going to take this chair? Take this chair. This is antique. This is real nice. So we did. But it was like
Oh,
those kinds of, I think some of it is people come. people are interested in what they leave behind,
Hmm.
how they will be remembered. I mean, I understand it, but there are moments too where you're like, well, let's just live now, be
Yeah,
here now.
right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So what was this experience? So your mother has passed.
No,
No,
no.
okay. I thought you talked
Mm-mm.
about her in past tense, but you were just
No,
talking about the
sorry.
doodling in past tense.
The doodling was in past tense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a way, I honestly feel like the mother that I had is in past tense, right? I mean,
It's
the
so hard.
she's not accessible in the same way.
No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, oh, sorry, the experience of
Of
the
writing the
poem. Is
poem,
that
I
the
was
question? Yeah.
wondering if,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the reason I brought up your mother is because I
Yeah.
just wondered if you were accessing or it felt like you were connecting with, I don't know, memories and
Yes, yes. I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, it's sort of interesting to like sort of take stock. I'm 43. I'm pretty sure I'm 43.
is there
My husband,
debate?
I think, no, actually, I'm 44. Oh, no, I think I'm 43. Okay, so
When's
I'm
your birthday, Kelly?
43.
Is your birthday
81.
today?
No,
No, okay. So what time of year is it?
it's in May.
Okay, so it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Yeah, yeah.
So you're 43.
I think I'm 43. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But sometimes for a while I was saying I was 42. My husband was like, no, you're 43. And I'm like, well, when was I doing that? I don't know. Um,
It just matters less. I
yeah, I
think
know.
as we get, I don't know that it ever matters
Exactly.
that much, but it's like,
Right.
um, it's funny you say that because I have a friend in her mid 40s and she's like, God, am I 44? I don't know. Am I 40? Like, don't ask me because I don't care. So when
Right.
you've told me how old you, I've known you like for 20 years. I have no idea how old
Right.
you
I
are,
haven't been
Marina.
keeping up. Right.
Like you got it.
Right.
You have the birth certificate.
Right. Right. So I guess what I was thinking is it felt like an interesting and sort of an unexpected time to take stock.
Mm-hmm.
And so but then also I realized like it seems like you do the poem every year, right?
I do. Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this is
No,
exactly the contents of the
definitely
things
not.
you remember and that's it.
Yes.
So that was it was actually pretty fun. And of course,
Good.
also I do have a lot of hangups, I would say, around like memory because of my mom and then I think like, am I gonna get it? Can I all these tests I give myself all the time. And so it was fun to realize, okay, there's a lot of things with not very much work that I can remember about my childhood. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's fun. Yeah, it was fun. I would say it was fun.
Good. I realized I just gave Brian the wrong last name when I said I talked to him last week. Speaking of memory, it's like, oh, that's not his last name. Sorry, Brian. It's
Okay.
Watson. Um,
Never
sorry,
mind.
that's a guy I went to college with. And I know why that's happening because perimenopause, and I fully own it. Um, it'll just be like something's right there, and you know it's there,
Mhm.
and it's
I
like,
know.
poof.
Mhm.
Um, and so just so you know, it's totally normal. It doesn't mean that you are developing anything. Like I watched my mom go through it, and I'm grateful that I watched my mom go through it because
Mhm.
I mean, she'd always had a really amazing memory. Like she was
Mhm.
definitely the keeper of stories. Like anything that I wanted to ask her, she would recall. Like a friend's
Mhm.
name, friend's name's mom's name, like all of
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
And then it was like she wasn't there
Yeah.
in that same way. And it was
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was a little scary, but I felt like it was okay, and then
Mhm.
she came back. And
Yeah.
and I felt similarly when I had kids when I was postpartum. Like I felt
Yes.
very
Right.
cloudy for
Mhm.
my kids are like 4 years apart. I felt very cloudy for probably like 7 years,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I guess I'm
Yeah.
never gonna be like I used to be. Like I'm just not gonna be
Mhm.
like that. And okay, I'm not gonna write.
Yeah.
Um, eh, and then it did start to come back. So
Mhm.
you can do the games. I do the games,
Okay.
some
Yeah.
of the games,
Good.
and I'm doing Duolingo. But I do it
Mhm.
because I think it's fun
Mhm.
too.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but anyway, that was a tangent. I'm glad that it was fun for you to write the poem. I'm sorry, Brian, I used the wrong last name. When I have to write him an email. Um, and I'm glad it was a good experience
Mhm.
for you.
Yeah.
And I think it is fun to sit with and think of the things we can remember.
Mhm. Yeah, and which part, like sort of the bright lines, we think, oh, well, that's something I want to say, or don't want to say this, or don't want to say that.
It's
Mm-hmm.
become interesting for me too, doing one every year because I think the first one I wrote, it was very much things I was thinking about, things I was writing about. They were very front of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, but what else?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of
Right.
exploring those memories as the years progress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, oh, there's more back there. And that's interesting too.
Yeah, and also like who's at the center of it? Because I feel like when I was a kid, I always felt like, well, our family, I'm at the very bottom of this hierarchy of like
Me
what
too.
makes a family. And
How many siblings do you have?
well, only one, but I just mean like my grandparents and extended family. I just felt
Oh,
like such a minor player.
yeah.
And even some of my choices, I thought, well, this is the choice word, but that only applies to me, my mom, and my sister. And I thought, well, we count. Or like, but then we roped in my brother-in-law and my husband on the sunflower seeds, for example. And so I thought, okay, we can claim that, even though, it started in this, it wasn't top down. That was a bottom up choice.
I think bottom up choices are powerful. We should do
Yeah.
more of it.
Hmm.
Feels important right now
Yeah.
too.
Agree. Yeah.
Um, well, any other thoughts about it or your process or
No, I mean, I really enjoyed watching some previous,
Mhm.
well, I watched Katie Wares, and that was really helpful. And yeah, it was just fun watching you talk to people about this. And just, I do think, I mean, there are so many ordinary stories that are so fascinating. So that's pretty cool that you sort of pull a lot of these threads with this exercise in this project.
Yeah, I have always felt that way. I think that we all have an interesting story if we're
Mhm,
able to sit with it and express it. I think lots of times we aren't. It's too painful.
mhm,
But I think that I was just recently talking to a friend and she was saying she's a person who people always give their whole story to, like
yeah,
when she's out and about. And I've been a person like that a lot of my life. And it's fun to have this container for
mhm,
that.
yeah,
Um, and also I think to facilitate people taking their own stories seriously and their own
mhm,
words, because I think it empowers us in ways we don't even know.
right, yeah, I
It
agree.
definitely has for me.
Mhm,
I was just talking to my child about this last night, like how important I think creativity is, and not only because of sharing it and people feeling mirrored by that, but also how it changes us.
yeah,
And not to make money off of it, like not that, like we don't need to make a career of it, we don't need to like be a New
mhm,
York Times bestseller, like just
mhm,
the act of creating. I think especially in community,
mhm,
it's something that gives me hope and
right.
keeps me going,
Mhm,
and I think we all need whatever that is for us
yes. Yes.
to reach out and grab it.
Mhm,
So I'm glad that I just also, it's for me, it's a real treat to connect with people that I don't know at all, people that I
mhm,
know a little like you, people I
mhm.
know quite well. I always learn something and I'm reminded of something from my own life. Um,
Yeah.
and that is also special.
Mhm. Yeah. I
So,
agree. So well done. Thank you for
well,
doing this.
thanks to Georgella and Janine Alette for introducing me to this prompt, and Fred First for creating it. Those are their names for sure. Um, I've said them enough times. Um, okay, well, anything else, Kelly? We were just like got right to it.
No, this was great. This was fun. I'm glad I did it. I'm going to tell everyone to do it.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that you were a little nervous about it, right? Initially.
Yes, because I felt like, ooh, I don't know, but I will, but I have learned this thing about myself is that if I say yes before I think I'm ready, I can usually get close enough to ready when the time comes.
You said that when you said yes, and
Mhm.
I think that's a really positive way of reframing fake it till you make it. Because I think
Mhm.
that is kind of like, we
Yeah.
don't want to like set ourselves up to be fakes.
Mhm.
But I
You're
think
right. Yeah, yeah.
like, but I think saying like, oh yeah, I'll be ready. And I think that's
Right.
true for so many of us. And we kind of sometimes we expect ourselves to be ready in not in a way that's not realistic. But what you're saying is that this is a way you found that is realistic, you know?
Exactly. And I also like one thing I really like about listening to podcasts and especially from different kinds of creative people is you realize, I mean, someone can tell you over and over again not to compare your
Mm,
work in progress to someone's finished thing. But then
for
when
sure.
you, I mean, I listen to a lot of comedians and when you listen to them, you think like, yeah, they also have these hassles and headaches and things fall through and people have false starts and that's just how it goes. And they still look to the public facing side might, even if it's somewhat self-deprecating, still looks pretty good to the public it's facing. So maybe
Yeah.
Ready just doesn't feel the same way you think it should feel.
Right. Right. Yes. Like as if there's no nerves associated with it.
Right.
Or yeah. Or if you're
Right.
like 100% confident. Yeah. I read some where somebody said, like how we look at someone else and think, oh, they have everything or they're happy or what. Someone else is looking at you that way. And I thought it was a good reminder because, we're always comparing our insides to other people's outsides. And the same thing is happening to us. Like,
Right. That's true. Right.
you know,
Exactly. Hmm. Yeah.
everything's complicated,
Hmm.
and I also saw actually Jesse Eisenberg. I was very much enjoying his press tour for A Real Pain. I just thought he was like really funny and
Hmm.
honest, and he was talking about a comedian whose name I'm not going to come up with, and how they were talking about how oftentimes when we're jealous of one thing about somebody, like we would like, the book they wrote or the book deal
Hmm.
or, but we don't actually want to trade lives with them. We just want that one thing. And like, that's not the way life works. Yeah.
True. Right.
So
Right.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a useful because in general, I mean, I'm very happy with my life
Hmm.
um, and I've gotten much better at not comparing myself to others because I'm real weird and I'm happy about it. Like it's
Right.
taken me a
Yeah.
long time to not want to be, it's like I'm happy
Yeah.
with this person that I am. And
Yeah.
there's that.
Same. Yeah. Yeah. I feel also, I feel grateful for being a little bit weird, but then I mean, there's also somewhat of a cost. And I don't mean a huge
Mm.
cost, but sometimes a small, like it can be a cost, like the cost to that, which is okay. That's how that is. So fine.
Yeah, I think that the alternative cost is that you're just bored out of your mind.
I think so too. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes. That is, yeah.
I don't know, which to me is like
Right.
the most intense cost is just to feel like life is drudgery.
Right. Right.
Um, and I think we've all had that experience, and some of us live there for a long time, but it's just like feeling, just like you're on an endless treadmill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's like honestly how capitalism is meant to function for many of us who are holding up everybody else. So you have to just be like, no. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
find your small or large ways to
Mhm.
to be your own person.
Right. Right.
So now that we have solved the world's ills,
Yeah.
thank you, Kelly. It was such a
Thank
pleasure talking to
you.
you and hearing your poem. And
Thank you.
I'm excited to read your book when that happens.
Me too. Thanks, Allison.
You're welcome. And now I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.